Ashton Jeanty is one of the most feared men in college football right now, with just under 1,400 yards through 7 games. He also has 18 touchdowns already on the ground, while averaging 8.7 yards per carry. He was able to eclipse the 1,000-yard mark in less than 100 carries. But Boise State has a long and decorated history of great running backs. So is he even the best to play at Boise State? He currently finds himself sixth in both rushing yards and rushing touchdowns on the career leaderboard. If he isn't the Boise State running back GOAT, then who is? Cedric Minter is the OG Boise State running back, playing from 1977 to 1980. He still holds the all-time record for career rushing yards at Boise State with 4,475. His sophomore year, he was able to rack up 1,526 yards. And in his final season of 1980, he was able to help his team to the Division I AA National Championship. After a fantastic college career, he went undrafted and ended up playing in the CFL. He was a 2-time CFL All-Star in 1981 and 82, and was able to turn that into a couple years with the Jets in 84 and 85. After a few rough years to begin their transition to the FBS level, Brock Forsey, a running back, was able to help Boise State to their first 3 10-win seasons, including going 12-1 in 2002. In that 2002 season, Brock totaled 1,611 rushing yards and 26 rushing touchdowns. The 26 touchdowns were a record that stood until 2014 for the school. He also sits third all-time in career rushing yards with 4,045. He was able to turn this amazing college career into a couple years in the NFL. By the end of Ian Johnson's career, that lasted from 2005 to 2008 at Boise State, he was the Broncos' best running back. He stood at second all-time in rushing yards with 4,183 and first all-time in rushing touchdowns with 58. His sophomore season was the most impressive, helping his team to a 13-0 record. He was even a first-team All-American by some outlets. He had 1,713 yards and 25 touchdowns, which helped him become 8th in Heisman voting that year. Unfortunately, the next 2 seasons were less productive, totaling only 1,807 yards and 29 touchdowns between the two, although he was able to be more productive in the receiving game. After such a wonderful career in college, and measuring in at 5'11", 212 pounds, running a 4.46 40-yard dash, and having 26 reps on the bench press, he wasn't able to play an NFL game. In 2009, Doug Martin ran for 15 rushing touchdowns, helping Boise State to a perfect 14-0 season. They were able to finish 4th in the AP poll, their highest finish ever. In his career at Boise State, Doug ran for 3,431 yards and 43 touchdowns, putting him 8th and 5th in the leaderboards respectively. He was able to turn this incredible career into a first-round draft pick. He is one of only 5 Boise State players to be drafted in the first round. He burst onto the scene in the NFL with 1,454 yards and 11 touchdowns as a rookie. He was a Pro Bowler that year, but then he followed it up with a couple injury-riddled seasons. In 2015, he got back to his Pro Bowl form, rushing for over 1,400 yards. This earned him his second Pro Bowl nod, and he became a first-team All-Pro selection. He is one of just 3 Boise State players to ever receive this recognition, and is the only running back. He finished his NFL career with 5,356 rushing yards and 30 rushing touchdowns, both of which are more than twice as much as the next in line. As good as all the running backs at Boise State have been, Ajayi may have just had the best single season. He's 4th all-time in career rushing yards with 3,796 and 2nd all-time in rushing touchdowns with 50. But after a solid first year in 2012 and a breakout year with over 1,400 yards in 2013, In 2014, he was able to put up the most single-season rushing yards and most single-season touchdowns that Boise State had ever seen, putting up 1,823 yards and 28 touchdowns, as well as putting up over 500 yards receiving and 4 touchdowns through the air. He did do this, however, on 347 carries, a massive workload. With this, he was selected in the 5th round of the NFL draft. After a mediocre first year, he was able to put up 1,272 yards and 8 touchdowns in 2016, leading to his first and only career Pro Bowl. He was also able to win a Super Bowl ring with the Philadelphia Eagles. In that game, he finished with 9 carries for 57 yards. All 5 of those players have a solid argument to be the best running back in Boise State history. And that list doesn't even include Alexander Madison, who's the top running back in Las Vegas right now, George Holani, who Ashton Jeanty had to share the backfield with the past 2 seasons, and Jeremy McNichols, who was 9th in rushing yards and 4th in rushing touchdowns in only 2 years of starting at Boise State. In conclusion, I think it's too early to say if he really is the best running back in Boise State history or not. But if he keeps playing the way he is, I think you'll have a great case to make. This is especially true because he has his team at number 15 in the nation, looking like they'll have a good shot to make the 12-team playoff. This is very important as Boise State hasn't finished the season in the top 25 since 2019. The way it looks, Ashton Jeanty will only continue his success at the professional level after this year. He set himself up to be an early draft pick in the coming NFL draft. Let me know what you think about Ashton Jeanty and if you think he is the best running back in Boise State history after watching this video. Thanks so much and happy Halloween.